I just watched $20 billion vanish from the crypto market overnight. And, as if that wasn't crazy enough, I discovered whales are quietly dumping $50 million in XRP every single day. What do they know that we don't? For real, this week kind of felt a bit like a roller coaster on steroids, right? One moment Bitcoin was flying high, the next a flash crash that wiped out over $19 billion in crypto positions and 1.6 million traders in 24 hours. It was the biggest one-day wipeout in crypto history. People were getting margin called left and right. Some lost everything in just minutes, and I'm sitting there staring at my screen, my heart is pounding, thinking, is this it? Is crypto really crashing for good this time? Now, I'm mainly an XRP guy on this channel, and what happened with XRP had me even more rattled, because XRP had just broken past $3 for the first time in a while, right? There was so much excitement back in the air, but then reality slapped us all in the face. Within days, it had plummeted below $2.50. Talk about whiplash, right? One day we're celebrating, and the next day it feels like the sky is falling on our heads. Now, as I'm kind of picking up my jaw off of the floor, I start hearing whispers and seeing tweets about something pretty fishy. Big players, the so-called whales, are offloading tons of XRP. Now, at first, I didn't want to believe it, right? Why would whales sell so much if they believed in XRP's future? It kind of felt like a betrayal. But my curiosity got the better of me. I had to find out if it was true, and if so, why? Right? If whales were jumping ship, what did they know that we didn't? And what did that mean for the rest of us still holding on for dear life? So I went digging for answers, right? I scrounged at the on-chain data metrics, news articles, you name it. And then I struck gold. Well, more like I struck a nerve. I found a piece of analysis that showed exactly what I had feared. On average, XRP whales have been selling about $50 million worth of XRP per day recently. So yeah, let that sink in. $50 million every single day. It's no wonder that the price has been struggling under the pressure. That's like a constant weight on the market. Now, seeing that number made my stomach drop. I mean, imagine someone dropping $50 million for anything every single day. Right? It's bound to pretty much hurt the price. It's also made me a little bit angry, like, are these whales intentionally keeping the price down? What is their end game? Now, to answer that, I had to zoom out and look at the much bigger picture. I pulled up historical data on whale activity, and you know what? It told a story, almost like a soap opera charted in green and red. Throughout 2022 and into early 2023, the data showed that whales were mostly accumulating XRP. Right? The whale flow was positive, meaning that they were buying more than they were selling. Prices were pretty stable at around that time, and it seems that those big players were stocking up quietly, building their positions, while the rest of us weren't really paying much attention. Then came mid-2023, and the tide turned. Right? The whales' flow flipped negative, and the whales started selling off more than they had actually bought. So you can fast forward now to early 2025. XRP's price absolutely exploded, hitting around $3.40 in January 16th, 2025. And that is when the whales went into overdrive dumping mode. The data showed that the most negative whale flow ever recorded on the charts during that spike. So in plain English, as soon as XRP had soared, whales unloaded as much as they could. Right? They were taking profits, big time, probably laughing all the way to the bank. And honestly, who would have blamed them? XRP had run up and they had seized the chance to cash on out. Now, of course, after January's peak, XRP's price started slipping again, almost as if the whales knew that it was coming, and by April of 2025, XRP had crashed back down to around $2 mark. And guess what the whales did then? They switched back to accumulating. Yeah, the whale flow turned positive again. It's kind of like they saw a clearance sale and said, "Don't mind if I do." Now, this accumulation by whales went on to about late June 2025, around the time the XRP recovered above $2. Now, once the price had bounced back and optimism started creeping back in, the whales assumed they're selling. It's almost predictable. When the market gets too excited, well, they start offloading, and when the market is terrified, they come back in for seconds. And that pattern has more or less continued right up until today. So here we are. Whales are still dumping roughly $50 million worth of XRP daily, and XRP's price is hovering in that mid $2 range. So it's a little bit surreal to kind of realize. But these whales have basically been trading the market cycles, like clockwork: buy low, sell high, and repeat. Meanwhile, the average investor, that's including past me, often does the opposite, right? Buying on the high and the hype, and then selling on the low out of fear. It's kind of like a cruel joke, isn't it? Now, I'll admit, realizing this pattern gave me a bit of a mixed feelings, right? On one hand, it kind of felt like I'm being demoralized, like the game is rigged by those with deeper pockets. And on the other hand, it was a bit illuminating. It's kind of like I stumbled upon the whale playbook, right? And if you can't beat them, maybe you should at least learn from them. Now, before I tell you how I'm changing my own strategy in light of all of this, let me just remind you of something rather important. Now, this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, I'm glad that we got that out of the way. After all, I'm just a guy on the internet sharing what I'm doing and what I've learned. I'm not telling you what to do, alright? So let's get back to our story here. After digesting all of this whale data, I had a little bit of an epiphany, right? Maybe I shouldn't be terrified that whales are actually selling. Maybe I should just take it as a bit of a cue, right? Not necessarily a cue to sell everything, but a cue to stay alert. If whales are taking profits, maybe I should be cautious about assuming prices are just going to keep going up in a straight line. And if or when they do start buying again during a big dip, perhaps that's a sign that it is accumulation time, not crypto Armageddon time. Now, that realization didn't just magically make the stress go away. Trust me, my nerves were still shot watching the market swing wildly, but it did push me to adapt, instead of just freezing. So let me share what I did and am doing to kind of navigate all of this madness. First off, I took a hard look at the risk management, right? That $20 billion liquidation fiasco was a pretty huge slap in the face for the whole entire community. Over 1.6 million traders got completely wrecked because they were over-leveraged and were caught off guard, right? It even took down some rather big players. So after seeing that, I made a promise to myself. I'm not going to be one of those people getting wiped out due to greedy bets. So I dialed back on the leverage big time, right? These days, right? I'm either trading spot, like hodling positions, or I'm using very modest leverage, right? I rarely exceed 10x. If anything at all, it's more around the 5x. And I only use proper risk management, i.e. 1% of my trading account. I've become almost allergic to the high leverage nonsense, right? And I definitely don't do anything stupid like using cross leverage. Everything is isolated. Every trade is isolated to the exact requirements that I have. Now, I break out in a rash just thinking about the 100x BS that I see being printed all over the place, and I'm not even kidding. And since the markets were going absolutely berserk, I also double checked that I had my assets, at least I didn't have there are too many of my assets on exchanges, and if I did have them on exchanges, there were exchanges that I did trust and plan for a quick move, right? I've split my trading stash between multiple cold storage wallets. As I show you here, I've got 4 of these ledger stacks, for example, right? And across exchanges that I trust. And this is all about proper risk management. And one of the exchanges that I do trust is 𝗵𝗀𝗀, right? The affiliate link is in the description down below, which helps support the channel here at no extra cost to yourself, by the way. Now, it's where I do a lot of my leverage-based trading, actually, and it's because I can use the APIs via TradingView directly, so I can trade directly from TradingView whilst I'm in the trading sessions with our members down in our Discord. Anyway, it's because I found 𝗵𝗀𝗀 to be very reliable as well, even when it comes to like the traffic spikes. The other platforms that I have used in the past are things like 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗀 and Kraken, 𝗗𝗋𝗀 as well. There's a whole host of different affiliate links in the description down below. And of course, they all support the channel here at no extra cost to yourself. So if you do want to sign up to some of those exchanges using those links, I thank you in advance. Anyway, I mentioned them not to kind of shill them, but because having a dependable platform is a part of how I keep my sanity during all of these market crazy swings, right? Use whatever you trust, right? Just make sure that you are comfortable with their security and performance under pressure. Now, when the crash hit, I actually jumped on 𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗀 to adjust some positions in real time because, funny enough, we were going short on the market about 4 hours before this crash started, which was fantastic because we were well positioned. But our TPs, our take profits, were a bit too high, so we could have adjusted those on the fly. It was a bit of a relief that the platform had pretty steady while the whole thing was burning down, right? Or the whole market was burning down. So the big takeaway here for me was this, right? Have a plan and have the tools ready before the chaos starts. I have accounts on all of these exchanges because if one goes down, I have another one that I can fall back on. So it's well worth just making sure you've got all your ducks lined up. And by the time that you're getting liquidated, hopefully not actually, it's a bit too late to really think, maybe I should have been more prepared on a different exchange, right? Have a plan, stick to it. Have access to as many different exchanges as you can. This is a part of my long-term strategy. So check out the link in the description down below. It'll take you to our website. And on our website, you will have all of the different links for all of the different exchanges that I personally use. Now, aside from bracing for impact in the short term, I also started thinking about the longer term. Like, okay, whales are doing their own thing, markets will swing. How do I actually position myself in crypto so that I'm not just surviving, but maybe even thriving through the ups and the downs? Well, that curiosity led me down a slightly different path, and it ended up discovering something pretty interesting about something called Unity nodes. Now, Unity nodes isn't directly about XRP, but bear with me here, right? It's actually more about the infrastructure side of crypto, which honestly, I think gets overlooked when everyone is obsessing over the price charts. Basically, Unity nodes is a project that lets regular people like us participate in running what they call master nodes. Now, if you're not familiar, a master node is kind of like an NFT, which has 200 licenses that sit underneath it. Now, the master node with these 200 licenses let you hook up to 200 different mobile devices. Now, I don't have 200 phones just lying around, but you kind of get the idea. Anyway, by operating these, you can do verification checks on the telecoms network. Things like checking that the signal's good, if there's a dead spot, whether the call quality is there, right? And doing these verification checks for the networks, you actually earn some crypto for doing it, like a little reward. So think of it like earning interest, but instead of lending money out, you're actually just lending your mobile phone's computational power occasional checks, right? And basically to help verify that the network is running correctly. Now, what really kind of caught my attention with Unity was how it kind of seemed to really be a community-driven initiative from a couple of different blockchain projects. This is World Mobile and Minutes Network, if you're familiar. Anyway, they're aiming at kind of running these things more accessible, right? Anyone with a smartphone essentially can go ahead and run one of these run the Unity app, which does the verification checks. And people have been talking about the potential to earn some pretty decent passive income in crypto because you can choose payments in any crypto asset that you want. Bitcoin, Ethereum, ADA, XRP, for example, right? And this goes beyond just staking or just trading, right? And that's what really piqued my interest here because let's kind of be real. In a week just like we've had, like this one, right, where trading got absolutely brutal, the idea of earning some crypto without actually having to trade sounded rather appealing. So I dug into the Unity Nodes website, I checked out the rewards calculator that they had there, and they're setting up a system where you can buy, an NFT which has these 200 licenses. Now, it's not cheap. It's about $5,000 to be able to run the 200 devices, right? The licenses. But the reward calculator is something like $19,000 a month if you have all those devices optimized. So the reward risk is kind of there. And so I took the plunge and I did buy one. And I'm going to be setting up a 10-phone test right here to see how this does in the real world. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens next. Now, of course, I was a little skeptical at first, as anyone should be, because you hear passive income in crypto and alarm bells do go off in your head, right? But the more that I read, the more that I thought, you know what? This could be very good, very legit for World Mobile Minutes Network. And there's networks that they're supporting will potentially do well. So I went ahead, of course, I purchased the node with the 200 licenses. I put my money where my mouth is, right? And at least, I guess, where my curiosity is. Now, their platform, their app isn't live yet, but when it does, I will get those 10 phones operational and we'll see how it performs once it is live. I'm going to be running the 10 phones, and if it works, I will scale up 20, 30, 50, 100, 200, and so forth. Now, I am treating it as a small test. I'm not betting the farm on it, right? I just want to see how this actually does work and if it actually pays out like they claim, right? They have a rewards calculator, like I mentioned, and it shows some pretty good potential earnings based on the performance and, of course, the verification checks that you are performing. There's lots of nuances to that, so I do recommend doing your own research, reading the light paper, all that kind of stuff, and before making any financial decisions. Obviously, I can't tell you what to do. I'm just telling you what I've done, because looking at it and researching it, it seems a really good way to kind of build more passive income when it comes to XRP. But again, I want to be super clear here. This is not me telling you that Unity nodes is the next big thing. It's just something that I'm experimenting with. You should do your own research if it sounds interesting to you. And if you do, then definitely play with their calculator and read all of the fine print. I'll have a link in the description so you guys can check it out if you want. But as always, approach it with a healthy dose of caution and curiosity. All right, so you might be thinking, why on earth did you bring up Unity nodes in the middle of this XRP whale story? Well, it's because it's actually a part of how I'm actually trying to adapt here. See, being at the mercy of whale sell-offs and market crashes is pretty exhausting. I realized that I don't want to be a passenger in this crypto roller coaster. I want to have my hands on the wheel, or at least some parts of my journey. Now, running a node via Unity is one way that I can feel that I can contribute to the crypto in a more stable and constructive way, as opposed to just being the kind of buy and sell freak out kind of cycle thing that's going on right now. So it's kind of like little island of calm in this storm, if you will. At least that's how I hope it's going to be anyway. Now, bringing it back to XRP and the whales. With everything that I've learned, I'm starting to see this whole situation rather differently. It's less, OMG, the whales are dumping, we're doomed, and more, okay, the whales are taking some profits after a bit of a run-up, that's pretty normal. Maybe I should have some dry powder, that's cash by the way, ready just in case their selling drives the prices to a ridiculously low area, because that might be an opportunity. It's almost like flipping the script on how I emotionally react. So instead of fear, I'm trying to channel patience and even a little bit of optimism, because history has shown us that after whales finish dumping, the weak hands are out. Markets find a bit of a bottom, and those who keep their cool might be able to scoop up great projects like XRP or others at bargain prices. I've also been talking to a lot of people in the Discord community about all of this. Our free educational Discord, by the way, the link is in the description, has been on fire with the discussions after this market crash. So many people are worried, and understandably, right? But we've been sharing charts, the historical data, and just reminded each other that we've been predicting exactly this for many months, right? If you're not in there yet, you should probably come and join us. It's honestly a bit of a lifesaver during times like these to have a group of people who understand what we're actually going through. We help each other not make kind of rash decisions in panic moments. Now, I do want to clarify something here. I'm not saying that just because whales are selling means that you should buy and everything will be perfectly fine, right? This is not a fairy tale where the price magically goes up tomorrow. There are some pretty real risks here. Maybe the whales see something coming that we simply don't. Maybe a negative development or just a broader market turndown. You have to consider that, right? Crypto is always a very risky game, and XRP's price can absolutely go lower before it goes any higher. I'd brace myself for that possibility. But here's the key, right? I'm not going to be shaken out by fear alone, not this time through, right? If I act, it's going to be because I thought it through properly, not because I'm just mirroring what some whale did in a blind panic. Now, I'll actually give you a bit of an example from this week. When everything was tanking and I saw that whale data, the old me might have kind of market sold my XRP stack right there and then, and there just because whales are selling, right? And I should too, but I didn't, because instead I took a breath. I talked it out in the Discord and looked at the much bigger picture. XRP has been through worse and survived, right? The crypto market as a whole has taken a heavier punches, right? Hello 2018 bear market or the 2022 collapse. Even though there's more liquidations this time through than ever before, the market's holding up remarkably well considering, right? And in 2018 and 2022, it came back swinging eventually. So I held on, and eventually, and actually, I ended up buying even more, and as it kind of dipped down under $2.40. Just a little, of course. I'm not going all in or anything crazy, but I do have some limit orders set ahead of time, and they filled. Maybe it pays off, maybe it doesn't, but it felt good to stick to a plan rather than to act out of pure fear. And you know what? Even if XRP stays low for a little while, I'm going to be okay with that. I've positioned myself so that I can wait it all out. Meanwhile, of course, I'm going to keep earning, learning, and exploring, whether it's through staking or running things like the Unity node application on these mobile devices, or even just staying on top of the new developments. Now, this whole experience kind of reinforced something for me. Knowledge is indeed power in crypto. The more that you know, the calmer that you can be when others are losing their minds. Learning about the whole whale patterns turned out to be at least what could be been a hopeless situation, and turning it into something that I can feel a little bit more positive about and can, of course, navigate. It's still a bit of a storm, make no mistakes, but at least I've now got a map, or maybe even a better compass. Now, as we kind of close this wild chapter, here are my big takeaways. The crypto market can wipe out billions in a blink. So never assume that any investment is a sure thing. Risk management, seriously, you should do it. Watch what the big players are doing, but don't just follow them blindly off of a cliff. Understand why they might be doing the things that they are doing, right? Keep educating yourself. Again, hop into the Discord if you want to learn with us. It's free and it's full of savvy people. And more importantly, explore different facets of crypto beyond just trading, whether it's participating in governance, running a node on Cardano, or whatever kind of floats your boat. Maybe the Unity, right? It gives you a much broader perspective and can even open up new income streams. The future is never certain. Maybe XRP moons next month. Maybe it slides further. Nobody truly knows, not even the whales with all of their money. But I'm going to be here for it, and I'm going to be keeping and keep sharing everything that I learn along the way. So if you have found this little adventure through the chaos helpful, or at least even relatable, you can do me a favor. Stick around, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and join me in the next crypto adventure. I'll catch you all in the next one.